there's three very important parts right here. Before the game, during the game, and after the game. Before the game with my son, like I always tell him, I say, listen, I don't care how you do today. Go out there, relax, have fun. There's no pressure on you at all. Just have fun. And then during the game, if I'm a parent and I'm in the stands, just zip it. You don't need to be yelling and screaming. Just sit back and just enjoy the game. And then after the game, like we just said, pick out three positives from it.
Welcome to the Parenting Athletic Kids podcast. My name is Travis Rogers. I'm a mental performance coach and the father of two athletic boys. Through this podcast, I hope to deliver actionable strategies that you can implement to help your son or daughter optimize their personal and athletic growth. I also hope these conversations help you enjoy the ride. If you find this podcast useful, please be sure to like, share, and follow. Today's guest is Zach Lutz. Zach spent 11 seasons in professional baseball. Zach is the father of two athletic kids and is the director of team and player development at All-Star Sports Academy in Pennsylvania, where he strives to empower parents, athletes, and coaches with clear guidance to thrive in youth sports. Here we go. Zach, great to have you on the podcast. Welcome to the Parenting Athletic Kids podcast.
I appreciate you having me, Travis.
Yeah, so let's jump right in. Let's start. I think it'd be cool if you kind of talk through your youth sports journey and beyond that, and then kind of where you're at today and what you're doing today at All-Star. Start in the beginning and walk us through your beginnings in sports.
Of course, yeah. With youth sports, I think mine was a little bit different than everybody else's growing up because my dad was a college baseball coach. So he's been at Alverny University, which is a small Division III school in Reading, Pennsylvania. He's been there for 38 years, and he recently got his win number 1,000. So
Wow.
from a young age, at 6, 7, 8, I was always going to the baseball games there, the practices. I started practicing with the college team at age 12. So I kind of always felt like I had that little edge on everybody else because I was practicing with older players and just learning the game from some more advanced players. But yeah, I mean just growing up and with youth sports, I mean I was never tied down to one sport. My love was baseball, but then I also going outside and throwing football and playing basketball, playing travel basketball, like, and going out and playing some tennis, like all that stuff, like just helped me become a better overall athlete.
Really cool. And walk us through the next piece. So in youth sports, you were doing it all, but that's really cool. And that's obviously something that most young athletes don't have, just surrounded by the baseball atmosphere, which had been super fun. And then, the normal high school, when did you hone in on baseball? Was that high school? Was that beyond high school? When did that kind of become your sport, your specific sport?
I would say probably, I don't know, like my sophomore year in high school. But I mean, even after that, like I was always playing something, in some type of off season or whatever, because then I had that anticipation leading up until baseball season. Like right when it was around Christmas time, me and my dad were always like, okay, now we know it's go time. Let's start to focus in on baseball because that season is right around the corner.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as my upcoming with youth sports, like always played rec ball. And then when I got to that age of like 11 and 12, I was fortunate enough to be asked to play like on a travel team. It was different then because right now there's so many different travel teams out there. There's thousands of different travel teams. And back then it was like, okay, there might be a guy that said, hey, I'm going to put together a travel team of the best players in the area. And then we're going to go down, we're going to go to Florida to play in a tournament here. We're going to go to sports at the beach. We're going to go to Rehoboth. We're going to go to all these different ones. And it was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
now with social media, right? It's just out of control. It's out of control because, all the parents, they're living vicariously through their kids. Everything that their kid does is like affecting them. And like, okay, well, my kid went 0 for 4 today. So they go to bed and they're frustrated about it. Like, relax. The kid's 10. it's gonna be okay, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's get right into it. Like,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on putting that in perspective? How does a parent sit back? Because it is, the next door neighbor has a kid who's doing the same thing. And it always
Mhm.
seems like pressure to jump to the next level or perform or play in this tournament, go to that showcase. How do we navigate that as parents? Is it just
I
a
think
step
it's
back, take a deep breath, big perspective here? What are we trying to do? Like, what are your thoughts?
it's listening to somebody that's been through it and experienced it, and for myself, like, playing at the highest level, and saying that to parents. So, like, listen, just, pump the brakes here, right? Like, you don't need to be doing all this stuff. Like, oh well, Johnny's outside next door and he's doing this, Johnny's playing on this travel team. If you don't do it, certain coaches will say, if you're not playing on this travel team right now, you're going to be behind the eight ball. It doesn't work like that, you know? Like, just go outside and just run around and, play catch with mom and dad. Do the little things, work on the fundamentals. But as far as a parent, like we said, just take a step back. Just enjoy the moments because they go by quick. Like, my 9-year-old and my 7-year-old, like, I blinked and they turned 9 and 7. I'm like, holy smokes! Like, I don't want to miss anything. But I'm not like, the coach will come up to me and say, "Hey, where do you want, Beckham? That's my son's name. Where do you want him to bat in the lineup?" I don't care. Put him anywhere. It doesn't matter. He just wants to play and have fun.
So even having a dad as a college coach, was he, maybe there was a good part in that, and he was out coaching college and not being in your grill in your face. We got to do this. We got to do that. Was that something he was? I mean, I'm sure he wanted you to play baseball. If you're a
Yeah,
coach and you're a baseball guy,
yeah.
that's pretty important. Generally, how did he handle your situation?
Well, my dad and my mom, they never forced me to play a sport that if I didn't want to, right? And they always said to me, like, if you want to be great at something, like, you're gonna have to put the work in for it. We're never gonna be the ones that are gonna force you to go outside and hit and throw and do all this. But if you ask, like, we will definitely make time. We will figure out a way to get it done for you. But if you want to be good at something, like, take it upon yourself. And then that's what I did. And that's why I fell in love with it, because I was never forced to do it. They never put all this added pressure on me at all. Like, and that's what everybody always thinks is, like, your dad's a college coach. He's a well-known guy, across the country. You know, did he put a lot of pressure on you? No. Not at all. He knows the game and he knows there's going to be 0 for 4s, 0 for 10s, 0 for 20s. But if you put that hard work and you dedicate and you make the sacrifices to it, and you try to be the best version of yourself, it all ends up good in the end.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's walk us through your kind of professional. We kind of jumped ahead, got into
Yeah.
that, and we'll get back to it. But so high school baseball. Did you go play college baseball? Did you get drafted out of high school? Tell us about your pro experience a little bit.
Yeah, of course. So in high school, I went to Governor Mifflin High School. It's right in Reading, Pennsylvania. I was a good player in high school, but a lot of these kids now that I train, they're like, if they're a freshman in high school, they're like, I better be on varsity. But for what reason? You're going to sit the bench. You got to play. So I didn't get to play varsity until about halfway through my sophomore year in high school. But I had to work my butt off in order to get that spot, right? But I was fortunate enough. I just kept working, 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 and then my junior year, my senior year in high school, I ended up getting the player of the year, the state player of the year, all that good stuff. So I had some really big Division 1 offers coming out of high school. I had South Carolina, had Notre Dame, I had Stanford, but I ended up going to play for my dad at Alvernia University, which is a small Division 3 school. My senior year, my goal was to make it to the major leagues, right? Like, that was my goal. So I looked myself in the mirror and I'm like, okay, well, I'm 6 foot, I'm 175 pounds, and I threw hard, but my 60 time was about a 7.7. All right, so that's what I graduated with. So I knew going to small Division 3 school how much time and effort I needed to put in. So my senior year, I graduated at 175. My freshman year of college, I got up to 225.
Wow.
And that was just like 50 pounds of just muscle, going to the gym, eating right, sleeping right. Like I was never going to any parties. I didn't do any type of drink. I didn't get in trouble or anything. I was focused on being the best version of myself. And it all panned out, you know? I mean, everybody always says you think it would have been a little bit different if you would have went to South Carolina. Um, yes and no. I don't know because I went there and I got to two-way. I got to pitch and play third base for my dad, and it worked out great. Because even after my freshman year, I was fortunate enough to be first team All American as a two-way. So then after that, South Carolina, that was still another option, but I was just like, okay, I'm good here. Like if I'm good enough, somebody's gonna find me, and it's different today with with all this NIL money and all this stuff getting thrown around. Like these kids will go to one school for a year, and all of a sudden, that season ends, and they're getting pulled in so many different directions with different money from different programs. Like I'm all about that loyalty. If I'm going to go somewhere, I'm going to dedicate all my time, my effort to bring that program to the best it could be.
Really cool. So, how many years did you get drafted after your junior year then?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I think the big one for me was, like I said, going to a small school was, going to play college summer ball. So when I went to play college summer ball, everything turns into wood bats. So even after playing, we were using those Beezer bats back in the day, so the ball really jumped off those bats. But then when I went and played college summer ball with that wood bat, I really started to separate myself a little bit more because I could swing the bat really well and I pitched really well too. So that's where I feel like I really got seen. Then I got drafted my junior year in the fifth round by the Mets. And after that, that's when the whole story kind of changes, which I'm sure we'll get into here.
Well, let's get into it. No, for sure. Right. Jump right into it.
Yeah.
Talk us through that.
Yeah, it's wild. So yeah, I don't think anybody else has a story like this, but my very first professional game, I was playing in short season ball in the New York Penn League for the Brooklyn Cyclones. And my very first game, I ended up breaking the arch of my foot.
Mm.
So I broke the arch of my foot and I ended up getting 8 screws in my foot. And I had about 2 years of rehab, had to learn how to basically run again, all this stuff. And the doctor told me to my face in the emergency room, he said, listen, there's probably about a 95% chance like you're not going to play baseball again.
Wow.
And this is coming after just getting drafted, going down to a mini camp, and then going to New York Penn League. And that happened. And I'm like, okay. But I looked at him and I don't think he knew how mentally tough that I was. I'm like, yeah, you can say whatever you want to, but I'm going to figure it out. And then that's what I did. Like I was in a cast for 8 months. I couldn't do anything, but what I did do was I would build up my upper half, and my forearms and all that other good stuff, and my mental. Like even I would go in and I would track bullpens just to work on my hand eye. So when I come back, I felt like I didn't miss a step. But I think the best part about that is coming back from that. I think that made me such a better ball player because I got to actually sit back for once rather than playing. I got to sit back and watch and observe and kind of take notes on everything and like map out my plan of attack. And it all worked out. But I was just so focused on being the best version of myself and not worrying about what anybody else is doing. I do not care, you know? It might sound rude, but or whatever, but I did not care because I was focused on, okay, what is it going to take for me to get to where I want to go?
That's super cool. And you mentioned being the best version of yourself several times. How do you have any idea how you came to that place like that? I mean, I talk to clients of mine all the time about it. It's not important what he's doing or what the other team's doing, or when you go to the plate, you just got to be the best version of yourself. But it's hard. It's so easy, especially in this day and age, right? With social media stuff, comparisons are like everywhere.
Mhm.
So how did you come to that place? Was it an innate thing, just kind of built in, or can you recollect and say, you know what, this and this kind of led me to that place?
Yeah, of course. My parents never made me do anything, right? They never forced me to do anything. So I never felt like I had any added pressure.
Uh,
Where today, if they're taking the kid and playing on a travel team and they're playing in 75 games at 9U, right? And the parents are all they're worried about is their next social media post about that. Like there's so much pressure on those kids. By the time they're 12 and 13, they're done playing baseball because they're just mentally spent. They're drained. All right. So I think it was just me with my upbringing of, all right, if I want to be great, all right, how am I going to do it? Like if I ask my parents, they're going to help me out, but they're never going to force me to do anything.
it's really cool. I mean, I'm just thinking about the parents out there, and I know a bunch of them.
Yeah.
They want the best for their kid, but they feel like the best is, I don't even know if pressuring's the right. I mean, there are some parents obviously that pressure, um, but it's navigating again that line between too much, not enough. You know, how do you suggest that parents go about navigating? Is it just, you know, I've talked to other guests about this and thought
Mhm.
about it a lot myself, but just asking questions of the kid, like, is this what you really want? Letting them take ownership of it and then supporting them. But sometimes it feels like, so I've got, you know, two sons that are both playing college baseball now. And there was times when I had to give them a little push. You
Yeah.
know, is this what you really want? This is the work it takes to get there. I think a big part of that was they were both surrounded by other people that wanted the same thing,
Yeah.
and saw them doing the work. And now I have a son. My son's a freshman, and he's seeing guys that are really good players, and that investment that they put in. And I think that's
Uh-huh.
an amazing thing. So I'm jumping all over, but anything again, like how do we navigate that line? Best navigate to the best of our abilities.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to go about it. To be honest with you, I think it's tough, but I don't know. I'm just going from my experience, and when I tell you that, I was never forced to do anything, where it was okay. If you want to be great at something, map it out. Map it out. What you want to do, like it's so difficult now because kids hop on Instagram or they hop on YouTube and they listen to somebody talk about hitting that has never even played the game past high school, right? Or they're saying, okay, they're watching a day in the life of some kids on YouTube on this, youth prospects is what they all watch nowadays. Like they watch it and they judge it, and then it's like, okay, well then you put out a pressure of like, man, well if he's doing this, I need to do that. No, maybe that just is what works for him, right? What is it that's going to help you get you to where you want to go?
Yeah.
And then just map it out because everybody is different. The amount of lessons that I did at our academy, I was doing 300 lessons a month for the longest time. And every kid that came in there was different. So every kid that came in there was different. So I need to figure out, how I can approach that kid, right? Like what is it that I'm going to say that, is going to make them tick, right? What is it that's going to make them, take it to another level? And then you just kind of you get a feel for it. And then you map it out and it's like, okay, well, some kids they're going to get it, and then some kids, you're just like, man, like, I don't know. They're almost impossible to kind of flip that switch of like, hey, let's take it into overdrive. Like, maybe that's not just what they're meant here to do.
Yeah.
You can't force them to do it. If you're forced to do something, you're going to end up not liking it. Like after my pro career was over, I could have went in a bunch of different fields, but I knew like my why was baseball and how to make an impact in the youth sports and in youth baseball with these kids and help them give them guidance to their parents and all that. And that's why everything is just kind of taking off right now.
Love it. I
Yeah.
think, and I've had guests on here that it's super important. I think we get wrapped up in the day to day, or you know, this one tournament or even this one season, and we think there's so much in it,
Yeah.
importance in it. But I think mapping it out and I've had athletes on here that have talked about how valuable that was, or they
Mhm.
wish they would have done more of that when they were a junior in high school.
Yeah.
But again, we get so wrapped up in this one tournament. But if they would have had mapped out, okay, I need to, consistently eat this. I need to consistently be in the weight room this many days a week. I need to do this, that. Then every one little thing along the way doesn't seem so important. It's just a part of the process instead of so one
And
little thing.
that's exactly how I mapped it out, right? I mapped it out of like, okay, well, because I'm tired of hearing kids say, I don't have enough time. What do you mean you don't have enough time, right? 24 hours in a day. Let's map it out here. Okay. For me, it was get up at 4:15, right? This was like in high school. Get up at 4:15. I'm gonna do, a workout, Pilates, go outside for a run, hit, even though it's dark out, I'll turn the spotlight on and I'll go take some swings. So before everybody else was even up, I already had a workout down. So that's where you kind of mapped it out of like, "Oh, listen, oh, these kids are posting this, they're posting that. No, no, no. Map out what it's going to take to get that work in, right? So, like you said, like I don't know, everybody gets so worried about what everybody else is doing. Like, just focus on you and how to be the best version of yourself. And you heard me say that how many times now? But I mean, that's what it is. Like, you got to have that drive in you to get you to where you want to go.
And you think that drive basically comes from parents backing off a little bit.
Yeah,
Letting the athlete take the bull by the horns, steer the ship, however you want to say it.
yeah,
And if it's something that they're truly passionate about, I think there's more to that. Like I talked about, being surrounded by other people that are driven and motivated and want the same things you do. Uh, but I agree, like parents can actually oftentimes, and I could be accused of this at times, so I'm not throwing stones here.
mhm,
it, we tend to like steal from the passion
yeah,
more than we add to it. The passion
yeah.
has to come from within. That
Mhm.
why that you talked about, is that kind of what you see?
Yeah, so that's why this is a great topic, is because like with me with my job right now and doing individual lessons and being the director of all the teams that we have, talking to the parents when they come in and they'll say, man, like a 16-year-old kid I had the other day, I don't know if he really wants it anymore. And you look back at him and you're like, I wonder why. Because you're all up in his grill all the time. You're telling him to do this. He's got to do this. He's got to do that. This person's doing this. This person's ranked here on perfect game. This person's ranked here in PBR. No wonder he's over it. You never let the kid be a kid. You never let him breathe because you're always, digging him with information of, hey, you got to do this. You got to do this. Why aren't you doing this right now? Why aren't you doing that right now? And the kid he's just mentally drained.
Yeah.
So the parents, like you don't understand how much of an impact positively and negatively they can have on someone's life.
Yeah. And again, I think I trust that most parents, or hopefully all parents, are trying to do the best thing for their kid,
Yeah.
right? So the kid says at 13 or 14, like, I want to play Division I college, or I want to do this.
Hmm.
So navigating that line is hard. I think again, we just get too much in. Like we got to be grinding. You hear that term all the
Yeah.
time. Kind of makes me wince. Like, is it supposed to be a grind? I get that it's just a word, but
Yeah.
I don't want my kids grinding through it. I want them having a great time through it. There
Yeah.
are days. When you're in college and you're doing 6 a.m. lift, that's probably a grind.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, even with that, I mean, if you enjoy it, it's not really a grind, but the true grind is like minor league baseball. Minor league baseball is a grind because God, you're playing 26 days in a row. You're getting on a bus and you're driving here, 6 hour drive here, 10-hour drive here. Like that's a grind, but you enjoy it, but you find a way to get through it because you're mentally prepared for what you have to do, before the game, during the game, after the game, in order to go out and perform the next day.
and that's awesome, because I think if we could all fast forward it and like go through, or see our sons, daughters go through a minor league, they better love it, right? Like they
Yes.
better be passionate about it. And if we're messing with that at 14, 15, 16 years old,
Hmm.
it's going to be really. And I know again in Division One baseball, it's a daily
Yeah.
thing. They get Sundays off, maybe, So if they don't love it,
I say it this way too. I say it this way. I say, you know, think about it. Think about your son going to play minor league baseball and playing 25 days in a row, but you are right there by his side in his back pocket. How do you think that's going to end up? He is going to hate it. He's not even going to get through a full season, and he's going to be done.
yeah,
So right now, take a step back and just let him enjoy the game. Like the amount of like the percentage of players that go from high school to play college baseball is so slim. Going college baseball to pro is so slim. Pro to go into the major leagues is very slim, right? But if you want it bad enough, like if the kid wants it bad enough, then he'll find a way to get it done, you know? But sometimes you just kind of see the writing on the wall with some people and you're like, listen, like your kid's coming in for a lesson. He doesn't even want to be here for a lesson because you're back there breathing down his neck the whole time. Like, what makes you think he's going to play this game for another year after this? He's going to hate it.
yeah. Tell us. We've covered a lot. It's
Yeah,
been great. Your 9-year
yeah,
old son. Um, what do you see? And I think I know the answers to this, but
yeah,
but I want you've got a kid that's right there on the precipice of being getting hammered with all this stuff.
yeah.
Not necessarily from you, but if he's
Hmm.
good, there's the phone's going to be ringing. Hey,
Yeah,
can you come play for this team, that team?
yeah.
How are you gonna stay chill through this? How are you going to try to navigate this process?
Because I know who the right people are and who the people that are full of it are. You know. And it's tough because like even when I go and I coach right now, like I'm not even the head coach for his team. I'm just the assistant. I just sit back and I enjoy it, right? And I like when I'm in the dugout, I make it fun and the kids enjoy it, and that's why we win a lot of games. But then you look at some of these other teams that we play against and the coaches that they have. And I'm like, what are you're yelling, you're screaming, you're calling the kids out in front of the other team, their team, the parents. You don't realize how bad that looks. And with that kid's confidence, it's gone. You know,
Yeah.
it's absolutely gone. So with me, like, yeah, my son's he's a good player, right? He's very small, but he's fast. I don't know where he got that from because I was never fast, right? But, like, he just has fun, but I don't put any pressure on him. That's why after the game, he might be upset that he didn't get hit or whatever, but he's just like, "Oh, whatever." But, like, he'll get mad
Yeah.
because that's how I was. I wasn't like, "Hey, I'm 0 for 4, 4 strikeouts. I'm, the best player on the earth." Like, I'm mad. I get pissed off, you know? But, yeah, I think it's because I see it. I see it in my daughter's softball at 7 years old, how these parents can be and how these coaches can be, and I'm like, "Guys, just let them breathe." And that's why I post all this stuff all the time because, I just want people to read it and see it and just be like, "Okay, well, there is somebody that has been through it that is here to help and guide us."
How can I think that's you've been through it, so you can be your own kid's guide and your own
Yeah.
guide in your own head. Any thoughts on? And you said you know the good
Yeah.
the good people to be around, and how can parents that aren't in that position, aren't engaged in coaching and whatever, how can they be aware or navigate, like, this is the right people to be around, versus it's just as easy as, to me
Yeah.
it is, like, just watch the coaches interactions, watch,
Yep.
not and it has nothing to do with, in my opinion, well, it has some to do with the skills, and you're taking a kid to a hitting coach, and you might want to sit back and just say, is this,
Mhm.
am I seeing progress? Like
Yeah.
that, you do want to see that, but that's like, for me, that's like, I don't know, 10% of it. Like, are they engaged with my son? Do
Yep.
they are do they does my son love being here for that hour? And
Yeah.
same thing out on the field. But sorry, how do we as parents that aren't super, involved in it or engaged in it, navigate the good versus the bad?
I think it's because a lot of the good coaches, like that's the biggest thing is finding that good coach that you can trust and you can believe in, and they're going to have a good plan and process with your kid's development. But like when I go out and I coach on a weekend and we go to, Ripken in Maryland, if we go to Diamond Nation, which is a big one in New Jersey, if we go there, parents notice everything. So if I'm a parent, I look and I'm like, oh my God, look at this coach right here. Like he's engaged with everybody here. He's not in the dugout sitting on a bucket, right? He's actively coaching. He's being encouraging. He's building up the kids' confidence. And he knows he knows the game of baseball, where to put people, what to do, like how to move guys around. That's what I look for as a parent, right? It's not just calling around all these places and saying like, because you might call somebody and that person that answers the phone might say, "Oh yeah, we're the best place around." Okay, well then, all right, well that sounds good to me, because
Yeah,
that's what like, if a parent hears that, yeah, we're the best place around here for your development, they're gonna be like, okay, sign me up, right? Swipe my card for $5,000,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But just go out and be alert and look at these different teams that are there, and you can see it, like who's full of it and who's not, because there's a lot of teams out there. There's probably more teams out there that are full of it, that are actually compared to ones that are in there for the right reasons.
I think you probably have a keen eye for that. I know it's something I really look for, like, but I think most parents are going to the game and just watching their kid. They're not actually seeing that kind of stuff. The engagement
Yeah.
from the coaches, the positive talk as opposed to the negative. Like they're just so parents out there. I think that's something to be super aware of. And when you go to games, I don't care if it's 7, 8 years old. Are the kids enjoying themselves? Are the coaches interacting? And are the coaches positive? If you just look for those three things,
Hmm.
and again, ask your son or daughter, was that fun after the game?
Yeah.
And all the kids having fun. But we tend to get so wrapped up in our kid. Where's he playing right now? Where is he
Yeah.
batting in the order? Is he having success?
Hmm.
You can be in a bad environment and your kid can go 3 for 4 every game,
Yeah.
and that might seem like a good thing, but in the long run, it's not.
Oh
It
my
just
God. It's the parents that are like, "Hey, why is my son, not playing shortstop and batting third?" Like I do not care where my son played. You can hit him last, and that's what I did with my team. The coach was like, "Where do you want to hit him?" I said, "Bat him last." Bat him last, because I'm not going to be that parent that's going to be like, oh yeah, just because Zach's coaching this team and he played in the big leagues, that all of a sudden he has priority with his son. I said, no, play him anywhere in the field. I do not care, and hit him last. And then after the first tournament, all the parents, they said, you know what? I think it's wise if you move him up in the lineup. And I said, okay. But that's what I did. I wasn't the dad that said, okay, he's going to play third. If he struggled, well, then all of a sudden, if you whined, if you did anything like that, like I'm taking him out of the game. I treat everybody on the team the same exact way, because that's how you build a good quality team. You
How do you
know?
navigate that? So that's a whole nother, like the coach, dad, and you're in the early kind of stages of that. And I think being assistant, like
Yeah.
is a great call. That like that eases things a little bit. But how do you see yourself navigating that piece? And maybe you just said it. Like everybody, I treat everybody as equal. Other
Yeah.
thoughts on, because we do have a lot of coach parents that tune in.
There's two different routes, right? So I coached an older team, which was 16-year-olds. Okay. And in that 16-year-old team, when I first got them, I just kind of got thrown into it because one of our coaches ended up leaving our academy. So I got thrown into it and coached the team. The first year, we didn't have any wins, right? We didn't have any wins, but the parents and the players trusted me because I said, this is the plan. All right. I know we've struggled right here, but if you buy into what I'm doing right here and you come in and you work with me, you train with me, you're doing these things away from the field, like we're going to have success. You're going to get better and we're going to win games. So the next year comes around in the summer, we ended up winning 12 games. Okay. Much better than last year. The very last year that I had him, so this was 2.5 years in, we ended up winning 35 games. And it
Wow.
was the same group and it was the same parent, it was everything, but they bought into what I was doing. And that's what it's all about. You have to find that coach. And it's tough because there's not many that are like that. Like, I'm not bragging about myself or anything like that, right? But it's, I know what I'm talking about and I know how to bring out the best in the kids. And it doesn't matter if I'm charging $5,000 or $25,000. If parents gonna see that their kid is gonna get better and they see it and they see that they're happy and enjoying it, it doesn't matter. They're gonna pay it, you know?
Yeah.
But and then I see it from the youth, right? From the youth that we were talking about. It's, you know, like I said, all the pressure that these parents put on the team, but then, which team is the right one to be on? What do you need to do here? What do you need to do here? Like, it's a tricky process, but you just want the kids to have fun and enjoy it.
So that's awesome. How do you navigate that relationship, that coaching and
Yeah.
dad relationship with your son specifically? Is it, I've had a lot of dad coaches on here, mom coaches, and there's usually the same kind of formula, but what's your formula for navigating that relationship, that
Yeah.
piece?
Well, because I see it, because there's daddy ball, is what everybody calls it, all over the place, right? And you see it, and they're like, all right, there's four coaches on a team, and you look, and their kids are batting 1 through 4 in the lineup, and they're playing third, short, second, and first base, right? So for me, I just told my son, I'm like, listen, like, this is how we're going to go about this. Like, I told the coach that this is where you're going to bat in the lineup. You got to earn your spot right here. He's going to play you all around the field, right? But it's tough because a lot of these coaches, like we say, like our daddy ball or whatever, like they just watch stuff on YouTube and then all of a sudden they go and they try and teach it to the team and they don't realize that they're actually teaching them something wrong, right? And setting them up for failure rather than setting them up for success. So I mean, I don't know. It just goes back to finding that right coach because some dads that are say daddy ball, like they do know what they're talking about, and they are in it for the right reasons. But then there's other ones you're like, dude, this kid right here, like he's probably the least talented one on the team, but his dad's the head coach and he's playing short and batting third. You're like, what is going on here? For me, if my son's on that team, I'm like, we're getting out of here. I can tell you that right now.
So how that's really cool. How I want to give you a scenario.
Yeah.
Your son, you're in a tournament, back to back games.
Yep.
He's 0 for 8 in the games. And,
Yep.
and you're seeing some things, okay, this, that, the other, whether it's mental or physical or whatever.
Uh-huh.
How is your interactions with him after those games? Is it, I'm going to tell you some stuff from a coaching perspective.
Uh-huh.
Not the dad. This isn't dad. This is coach.
Yeah.
How are you navigating that? I think it can be really hard. I've been there,
Yeah.
like as a coach, dad, and when do I put on my dad hat? When do I put on my coach hat? What do my kids want to hear? What don't they want to hear? So how do you navigate that?
Well, especially after games, I always try to pick out three positives from what the game was, right? I never try to talk about anything, negative after the game because I mean, you said there's going to be plenty of 0 for 4s where you're going to get in the car and you'll be like, "Oh my God," but I'm going to say, "Okay, listen, this is what happened. This is what you did on defense. It was really well. You walked. This is what you did on moving up to second base on a ball in the dirt. You made a good read there." So going over little things like that, but it's just teaching them the game of baseball and how it's supposed to be played, right? So for me, like I said, like just hustle. Like you got to hustle out in the field all the time. Sprint out to your position. That's what my dad always said. If I would hit a fly ball in the air, right, I better be all the way on second base. Like those are little things that like you can just teach them and that'll get ingrained in them. And I've done it with all my teams. So if a college coach would come and see some of my teams play, my older ones, and they know that I was coaching, they knew that I was going to have guys that are on there that are going to play the game the right way, right? So I get what you're saying with how to be a dad and then how to put on that coach's hat, right? But it's just teaching them the game the right way and how it's supposed to be played. And I'll be like, listen, like yeah, you struggled right here, maybe, for me as a coach, it looked like your timing was way off, maybe the next game might move you down the lineup a little bit here just to kind of, so you can pay attention to the game a little bit more to kind of get your timing right in the dugout so you have a couple more at bats before you head on up to the plate, there's just little things to go around it so you're not like defeating the kid, but you're actually making something positive out of it.
That's awesome. And I think that's great for not just coach dads, but dads, moms. That car ride can be treacherous, right? So if
Uh-huh.
you're shooting three positives at them, or asking them what they did positively and making them dig into that and getting their mind off the 0 for
Yep.
4, that's some great stuff. And then the other thing you mentioned there is like the hustle, the controllables.
Yep.
And so parents out there, I'd say two things in the car ride afterwards: things they did positive,
Hmm.
and have them think through that. Not just us reciting it to them necessarily. It can be, that's nice. Like they feel good. Oh, dad was watching these positive things, or mom was watching these. But also, what did you think you did really well?
Yeah.
And then always, always, always controllable things.
Hmm.
It's not, man, because baseball and other sports are so hard, and they're trying and they're giving effort, and sometimes it goes good and sometimes it doesn't. And if we lean into the 0 for 4, I didn't like this strikeout, or whatever, man, it's gonna, you talked about that passion and how important that is. Like that's gonna just drain the
There,
passion.
there's three very important, parts right here. So it's, before the game, during the game, and after the game for a parent, right? Before the game, like I'm just gonna say, for example, with my son, like I always tell him, I say, listen, I don't care how you do today. Go out there, relax, have fun. There's no pressure on you at all. I can tell you that. I don't care how you do, just have fun, hustle, play the game the right way, like I taught you, right? And then during the game, if I'm a parent and I'm in the stands, just zip it, You don't need to be yelling and screaming and doing all this stuff and then yelling at the umpire or yelling at the coaches or yelling at the kids. Like, just sit back and just enjoy the game, right? And then after the game, like we just said, pick out three positives from it, all right? Because, they might have won the game, but maybe, Johnny didn't do well at the plate that day and he's sulking about it. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You guys won. That's what we're looking to do here, right? I don't care if you didn't play well, right? What's the ultimate goal right here? Ultimate goal is to win. And now you learn from it. What do you think you did wrong right there? Like that ball that you missed at shortstop, okay? Why'd you miss it? Okay. Well, did you take a bad first step on there? Like, let's kind of go back to the situation. So now if it happens again, you're going to be fully prepared for it.
That's really good. Thanks for hitting that.
Yeah.
That is the three pieces that if we're mindful of and better at, it's
Yep.
gonna improve the experience for
Yep.
sons and daughters for sure.
Yep.
Really cool. All right, we'll start wrapping it up, man. Really appreciate you coming on here. Is there anything else coming into this, or as we've talked through this, that you want parents really to know?
For me, to be honest with you, if they can, check out my LinkedIn page because my LinkedIn page just at Zach Lutz. I have a lot of great things on there, and then even with my TikTok videos that I put up now, it's at Let's Go Mets, just my last name and Go Mets. It's kind of something that I've had. One of my teammates from long ago is named Justin Turner. He's a well-known player. But he always said, he's like, man, you got to make an Instagram called, Let's Go Mets. I'm like, I ain't into all that. So now, 15 years go by, and all of a sudden I got TikTok and I got Let's Go Mets. So,
Love it.
but there's just a lot of, good information that I'm putting out there and just to help with some guidance, but we got some good things in the near future, that's going to get out there soon just to kind of help with this path for parents just a little bit more with that guidance of, how to keep your kids, playing this game a little bit longer and having success.
Really cool. And parents out there, people out there, that's how I kind of came across Zach, was on his LinkedIn and posting really good stuff, really good stuff, and powerful stuff, and kind of in your face a little bit, but we can use that at times. So
Hmm.
like, I really need to reevaluate how I'm thinking about this parenting, this coaching, whatever it might be role. So definitely jump on, follow him. I'm not on TikTok, so I can't. I've heard I need to be on there as well, but I
Yeah,
can't.
that wasn't my plan here at all. But then all my players and all these other people say get on. I'm like, oh, all right,
Yeah.
here we go.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah,
Well, thanks again, man. If you'll just hang on the line here for 2 seconds, this thing uploads. It takes about 5 seconds. Really appreciate you being on here.
of course.
Appreciate even more than that, like what you're doing for youth sports and the changes you're trying to make, and hopefully with people like you and your platform and this platform, it's making a difference. Hopefully we're having an impact.
Yeah.
I appreciate you doing what you're doing.
No, thank you, Travis. You're the best. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to like, follow, and share the podcast. If you're looking for more information on strategies that you can use to help optimize your son or daughter's athletic experience, please be sure to check out my book, Parenting Athletic Kids. It's available on Amazon. Thanks again, and we'll be back with another podcast really soon.